Hello, wonderful people. Alright, today's video I have is ending the war within yourself. And just to let you guys know, yeah, I'm recording outside again. I actually, I like recording outside, especially closer to nature, I feel like. And hopefully the audio will be okay. But I've been watching actually a lot of spiritual videos where the audio quality is like, there's this Vietnamese lady, I forgot the channel's name, but and she just records in a restaurant, and you could hear kind of like the background noise. And it's like even I watched a few other course videos where the audio wasn't the best, but okay, getting ahead of myself. So, um, yeah, ending the war within yourself. Um, because the thing is, if we're constantly at war, how can you build anything when you're at war? Right? And then what the course teaches about, of course, ending the war. What is the enemy? Right? The ego. Ego's not really the enemy, right? Because like we need the ego to have like this play of life, but when we identify too much with the ego, that's where the suffering comes. When I identify too much with the body. Um, what I wrote down here: relaxation equals connection with force, with the force. you know, because I'm also a big fan of Star Wars. If you know of Onasi, Onasi is from Karth Onasi from Star Wars: Knights of the Republic. Um, but this is something I've been really exploring with, and just seeing how, when I'm in a relaxed state of mind, how much things actually flow easier. Ideas, actions too. Right. I remember watching Infinite Waters talk about this. He had like two images of this guy. One guy is just walking, in the forest, smiling, and one person's in the car, all stressed, talking on the phone. And he's like, well, we have this perception, the guy, driving in the car, all stressed that he's successful, and the guy walking in the forest is not successful. It's the other way around. And I'm saying this because I believed in, even though I wanted to believe in the relaxation part, I'm like, oh, this is all airy fairy stuff. But when I actually experienced it, you know, like on my own skin, seeing like when I'm more relaxed. Also, like improv is, yeah, when especially even like in improv, when I relax and I don't care about if the joke is funny, that's when like really comedic gold comes from. Or um, I'll give another. This is from a memory very long ago, but even when it comes to manifestation, some Zatkil, my brother, wanted to have like this caddy job. Because where we grew up, we actually grew up like next to like a golf resort, and it was like very, well, you could say nice job to have for like a teenager because you could make decent money being a caddy. And I only came because I don't know, I could use extra money, but I didn't really care. Yeah, I really didn't care at all. I was just very relaxed. I was actually reading something about law of attraction, The Secret, and I was just in a good feeling mood. And Zatkil was just praying and praying. You could see his body was all clenched up. I'm like, please, 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 please. And guess who got the job? Me. But actually, I mean, you could say he manifested his own way because I was like, oh, well, I like since I didn't want him, like, what? You could take my place. I don't really want this anyway. Oh, because there was like a raffle. Yeah, it was a raffle. That's why, like, and he was praying to win the raffle, and I won it. Yeah. Um, the memory really stuck out with me because I feel in other aspects of my life where I'm like all uptight about it, that's when there's a lot of resistance. But like the more relaxed I am, the faster things go. It's what the Abraham says, the path of least resistance. I really understand it now because we value so much in resistance. We don't value the actual relaxation, like the Silva technique. If you guys are familiar with that, it's all about getting into the theta state, which is like a relaxed brainwave state, because we're all in like beta waves. We're going to theta. That's when inspiration downloads. Have you ever felt like inspired to take like some really cool action? I was from probably from the theta waves. whatever we call it, just being in a more relaxed state of being. Because we do have it backwards. Like I said, this world is upside down and backwards, where we just value stress, and then we're confused like why people destroy their bodies and that don't take care of themselves. Also, this you know, um, not honoring our emotions, especially as men. We're just like, oh, you just gotta suck it up, work, have no purpose, be aimless, just like how I was. Suffer in silence. No more, guys. No more. Right? Because um, I also think that maybe like relaxation. It's like I have this image of me like taking a bath or something, and like, oh, that's like feminine. I think there's something in the culture where like it's like okay for women to like relax, take care of themselves, but men, oh, as soon as she's on the couch, she's like lazy. You know, it's just a sick mind. But this is why we're here healing it. Okay, yeah, we're conditioned, right? The stress is that's the path of success. Hard, gotta be hardworking. And I know those are like loaded definitions. I'm not okay. I'm not knocking productivity and anything, because everything in balance. It's just like we put it. There's a special relationship with stress, with productivity. Like I would put productivity above my well-being, right? And that was not a sustainable thing, right? Okay. And about ending the war is dissolving the barriers to love. Right? This is all the course teaches us, that it's not about finding love, it's about dissolving the barriers we put up. And I had so many barriers, so many, unconscious or conscious, But what helped me was actually facing the grievances. Like I've talked in a few videos about the holy mirror. Actually, maybe I'll just make a link in the description. So I want to spread the awareness of it. I know people have, they're uptight about using AI for a lot of things, especially we could say therapy, whatever. But just give it a shot, because for me it's been so helpful. Because also with therapy, you can only do it like maybe once a week if you're more fortunate, more often, but still, like AI, the holy mirror is there always there to help you. And it's worked for me before. Before that, there was this app called Spiri, and it was very similar. You told the grievance, and you like hold a prayer for it. It was really healing stuff. Like this is, spiritual technology. I like it. I like it, and whatever. But if you don't want to use AI, whatever. But just actually facing the barriers, facing the grievances, right? Because if we don't, then we're gonna have these barriers to love, and we're gonna feel that pain, that resistance, right? But when we actually face our grievances, whatever they are, right? And being okay with having them. This is something I fall into the spiritual trap where it's like, oh, I'm too spiritual to be feeling this way. Oh, I have hatred. I have fear. Oh, my mind is clouded. All this judgment. Or the fundamental course of being non-judgmental, having no judgment, and accepting. All right, I'm feeling this way. My emotions are my guidance system. They're telling something. They're telling something. Something is wrong. All right, I'm having a grievance. I'm having a belief that's not in alignment to my inner being, right? And just working on it. Doesn't have to be at this moment. Whenever you have the time and have the willingness, but still, because what I used to do is like, oh, I'm too spiritual to be thinking that. I don't actually hate him. I don't have any anger. And it's like, no, you do. Like this false forgiveness, where it's like, yeah, I forgive you, but do you really? I've talked about forgiveness in the past, like actually integrating the experience, like mining the gold, right? The gold in the ashes, transmuting that darkness, finding the positive element. That has helped me so much, because then you're not a victim. You're like, oh, actually, I gained something from this experience, right? Also, what I wrote, shooting yourself. This is kind of a new topic, but it's been explained in Pete Walker's book about CPTSD, and also I saw this video talking about it. So I also want to reiterate that, because I feel that should put so much pressure on us, and it causes all this stress And for me, like I said, like, oh, I should be doing this. I should be more productive. I should be doing that. It's this constant war, right? I wasn't building because I wanted to build. I was building, or I was working on something because I feel like I should do it, right? I've talked in my videos because I was forced a lot to do things I didn't want to do, like karate, basketball, doing things out of alignment, like not listening to my guidance system, but letting other people. Of course, you're a kid, you have no choice, but you know. But then in my adult life, I was like, oh, what should I do? Like, should according to whom, right? Like for me, I had this kind of this like this alpha version of Kahir. Like, oh, Alpha Kahir would be doing this. Well, you're not doing that. Well, what a loser. That's a contemptuous relationship with yourself. Now I'm like, no, should according to whom? Unless I'm under legal or moral obligation, I'm not gonna say should, right? Because it's just like unnecessary baggage, man. It's unnecessary baggage because I think this is a belief of the self. Like, we need somebody to tell us what to do. Well, we don't. We don't. You can trust yourself. And please be gentle. Right? Be gentle with yourself, guys. Right? But the Course teaches us about gentle correction. He doesn't say harsh correction. And I had this so much in my life that the voice was very harsh. The inner critic was very harsh. Like I said, oh, you should be doing this. You're not doing this. There's something wrong with you. Like, I hate you. Why are you doing this? And like I said, how can you build, right? And if I did start building something, then the inner critic would just destroy it, through self-sabotage or whatever, right? But it's when you're actually gentle with yourself, like, hey, what's going on? What's going on? How can I help you? What do you need? All right, this is when you can start building stuff. And I know it could be hard to let go of that voice because we feel like it serves us, right? Like, oh, if I don't have this inner critic, I'm just going to be lazy on the couch. It's like, no, you won't. And if you give yourself time to relax, is that so bad? Like, so what? That's just a fear-based projection, right? Because we're all here. We have this divine spark, this divine creation within us that we want to expand. We want to do stuff. I want to do stuff all the time too, right? But it's where do your priorities lie, right? What is more important than the Holy Spirit, than God? Honestly, right? You can build with God. You can be productive with the Holy Spirit. All right, getting a little ahead of myself, but there's like this dove analogy. Yes, this is from like the TV show CSI. I just remember reading it somewhere, or there's an episode about there's this picture of a dove, like, if you hold it too tightly, you kill it. Like, life is a dove. Yeah, if you hold it too tightly, you kill it. If you hold it if you too lightly, it flies away. Hold it too strongly, you kill it. There you go. And that's for me a great analogy of life, because I've had both extremes. When like too light, as in, yeah, I wouldn't have any ambitions, anything that I wanted to strive towards, and I just focused on pleasure of gaming, and it wasn't a good feeling, like internally, it was just like this shallow pleasure, right? Not fulfillment, right? But also the other extreme where I felt like I was, working too much. I don't know if, if my parents ever thought it. I used to like judge myself, like, oh, really working? But I was, like I said, like studying two things and having, other lessons and stuff, like just really just focusing on working and being too rigid and trying to prove that I'm worthy, right? And then that was really unsustainable. I wasn't happy. I wasn't fulfilled too. But now I found this balance between myself where, yes, I am productive. I like being productive, but I have the grace of the Holy Spirit within me where I don't abandon myself if I act out of preference. Like, yeah, I catch myself, but it's not like I don't fall into those holes of despair that I used to, because I made this vow to never abandon myself. Never again. Never. And I want you to remind yourself about this vow and make it, if you haven't already, to never abandon yourself, because there's nothing, it's not worth it. It's never worth it. That's the lie of the ego that, oh, I'm going to berate myself to submission, then I'm going to change my behavior. That's parenting consciousness, right? I don't want that for anybody. And it's not helpful. It's actually counterproductive. That's the truth. It's counterproductive to berate yourself, to abandon yourself, to be at war at yourself. It's counterproductive. And I know you know it's true. Because, don't you want to enjoy your time here? Enjoy it. Not like lethargy, like I said about like the other extreme, but you want to enjoy it. You want to be kind to yourself. You want to be gentle, right? And you want to build. Yeah, but why are they two separate things? I wrote that. Yeah, trust yourself. Yes, and this is something like I had to work on, but like actually trusting yourself. But it's not really trusting yourself. It's trusting in the Holy Spirit that you are guided. You are guided. You are supported, right? But actually, having this faith and believing in it. Well, I wrote down Templars versus the Assassins, right? this balance analogy of like, if you're familiar with Assassin's Creed, right? There's the Templars that represent order. They want to control things. It's kind of like divine masculine out of whack. And then there's the Assassins where they value freedom and chaos. And I think it's also divine feminine, also out of whack, right? Because they're just like, killing each other. Nothing gets really resolved. But there's like the third way, right? The third way of having balance between the two. I hope this is making sense, but if it's not, well, yeah. Well, I'll work on it. Okay. That's what the Course says. So we're much too tolerant of mind wandering. Much too tolerant of mind wandering, right? Because I made a previous video about like there are no neutral thoughts, right? Being actually very vigilant where our thoughts are going, right? Because when we say, oh, like, I need to work harder, I should be doing this, is that creating heaven or hell in your mind? Because when I think I think there's a hell. I mean, there's different, like, like there are like shoulds, like, you should feed yourself and all this stuff. Like I said, legal, moral obligation. But really, the ones that we impose upon ourselves are way too much. Way too much, right? Because we can go at a sustainable pace, right? Sustainable pace of change. I think maybe social media, internet has like idolized like this overnight success or radical transformation. No one wants to talk about like kind of like the quote unquote boring stuff, where things take time. But the tortoise beats the hare for a reason, right? Like with my physical body, how many people like, oh, like, you'll change your body in 90 days. It took me a year, or actually it took me like quite a long time with but so a year to have like actually like visible change. And I wasn't like working myself to the bone. I worked out 3 times a week, good eating habits, all this stuff. Nothing like super dramatic, and then the change came. Also about ending the war within yourself, a radical acceptance. Radical acceptance. And like I said, having compassion beyond human measure, right? Looking through your eyes, looking at you through the eyes of Source, through the eyes of the Holy Spirit. It can be challenging because, like I said, we have all these reasons to abandon ourselves, to berate ourselves. But this is what I have this game analogy of Disco Elysium. I don't know an analogy, but think of Disco Elysium, right? You play as Harry Dubois. And he's like, you wake up, you have amnesia, you're drunk, you find out you did a bunch of like weird stuff, and you could like berate you could berate yourself, your character, be like, oh, you're such a drunk, you're a horrible cop, or be like, brush yourself off, put your pants on, focus on the solution. That's it, right? Like I said, I know it's simple stuff, but do we apply it? Right? It took me many years to start applying it. Because I was raised the other way, like, oh, you have a problem, like, oh, you're Harry Dubois, you're awful, you're awful, you're awful, you're awful. Like in the game, he also like has a lot of shame and guilt. When I play him, I'm trying to like make amends and focusing on being a better person, right? Because I see like the divine inside of him as of all of us, right? The Holy Spirit is in all of us, right? No matter what we do, no matter what the circumstances are. Always. Like, Spirit is with you always. even in the messes, in the gutter, right? Spirit is with you always. So remember, friends, right? Fear is an illusion, right? False evidence appearing real. Because whenever you experience this fear, like I said, these fear-based images of yourself, like, oh, if I don't do this, I'm going to be destitute. Oh. See what it is. It's a call for love, right? All attack is a call for love. All sin is a lack of love, right? So all attack, if fear, is a call for love, right? So what's really helped me is looking at these fear, looking at the grievances I've had, looking at the fear-based images and questioning them. Because if we understand there is no such thing as separation. We never separated from the Holy Spirit. What is there to fear? Right? If something's external, there's nothing external. Right? There's nothing outside of you. Right? I know this might seem radical to some, but a topic for another day. For example, for me, like my fear was like being never good enough. Like I said, I like really calling myself a loser. You know, like I'm a loser. I'm a loser, right? The powerful statement I have, I am, and I knew the spiritual principles. Like I said, I know I am creates reality, right? I kept saying I'm a loser, right? Like unconsciously or consciously, right? And I didn't realize because I was too afraid to look at it, really look at it. Where is this coming from? What is the call for love? And the call for love is healing this, emotional wound I had from childhood, right? Having CPTSD, being emotionally neglected, right? It's a very, fearful thought to be like, oh, you're emotionally neglected as a child. It sucks, right? But when I kept running away from it, I wasn't able to heal. It was until I looked at it, I was able to heal myself, like really heal fully, right? Because before then, I really didn't even believe I could create anything of value, right? Like, of my creation of mixed nuts, right? It's my improv group, right? Like, I honestly, like, I didn't believe, like, oh, I could create an improv group and we could perform once a month. I'm like, oh no, someone else can do it. Someone with more experience can do it. And then I saw how they were doing. I'm like, oh, maybe I could do a better job. you know. But the thing is about ending the war is, remember, I need to do nothing. And I talked about all this stuff about like somatic release, healing. But the thing is, our worth, our inherent worth, we are created perfect, holy, lovable, just as the Creator, right? We are sinless, divine beings. This is our truth with a capital T, right? So whatever you feel inspired to look at, any barriers you have to love within yourself, look at them, please, right? So this is all about saving you time. I wish I saved myself time. I was trying my best. How many people carry this burden within themselves that they're not good enough, they're not worthy? But you are because you are perfect. You are as perfect as God created you. You are a blessed Son of God. All right, this is the divine truth. Repeat it as many times as you need to. All right, I hope that helped you guys wherever you are in life. All right, so take care.